Greetings and welcome. This is the ThaBadbrey Herbal SSR of the ThaBadbreyHerbal.co.uk. And today I'm going to speak to you about the astrological symbolism and correspondences that are prevalent and embedded within Sonic the Hedgehog. Alright? So this is the ThaBadbrey Herbal SSR of the ThaBadbreyHerbal.co.uk. So let's get down to it. Now, a few years ago I wrote an article called The Astrology of Sonic the Hedgehog. Yeah? The link is in the description for those of you who would like to read the article. All right. Now I'm going to explain how Sonic the Hedgehog is full of astrology. Full of it. Completely full of astrology. Yeah. Whoever was in charge of designing the visuals for this game must have been well versed in astrology, or they must have been subconsciously aware of astrology without realizing on a conscious level. One of those two. Because it's a bit blatant to me, man. Look at this. I mean, let's look at Sonic the Hedgehog. Now, if you use your common sense, look at this image here. Using your common sense, there's absolutely no reason whatsoever why a hedgehog should be the color blue. It makes no sense. It makes no sense whatsoever. When in your waking life have you ever experienced a blue hedgehog? It doesn't happen. Now, a lot of people will actually justify and rationalize it away by saying, oh, maybe the artist, the designer of Sonic the Hedgehog, decided to paint it blue because Sonic is a cartoon character and they wanted Sonic to appeal to children, so they painted him blue. It's a bright color. Well, it's a color that stands out to children. And I'm like, okay, that's well and good, but to me that's still a justification. It does make sense. But from the perspective of an ancient astrologer, it's quite obvious to me why Sonic will be painted blue, all right? So let's look at this. Let's analyze this. Sonic the Hedgehog is full of emotional determination to look after his animal brethren, yeah? His animal family, all right? He's full of emotion and he wants to look after his animal family, yeah? Even if you look at the place where he actually lives, where he actually starts off. I mean, in Sonic 1, he starts off in Green Hill Zone, yeah? He and his animal family, animal brethren, they live on an island that is surrounded by a beautiful ocean of blue water, all right? Blue water. Again, another astrological connotation. Yes? Green Hill Zone. Even in Sonic 2, Emerald Hill Zone. Again, it's the same kind of scenario. A beautiful ocean of blue that surrounds an island. Even like even the shield. This is Sonic right here. And this shield is actually blue. Again, representing him wanting to completely shield his animal brethren using the love that comes from his emotional attachment to them. All right. So to me, it's quite blatant what Sonic is actually representing. Now look at this. I mean, the place he lives, the color that he is, he's blue, and the emotional drive and passion he has, and how connected to family he is. I mean, let's look at this image. Let's look at the spikes on his back. All right. So in this image, you can see that he has spikes on his back. Let's count the spikes on his back. Yeah. So how many spikes does he have? One, two, three, four. Four spikes. There's one more spike down here, but this spike is actually his tail. So he has four spikes that can be seen when he's pictured in this orientation. In the early pictures of Sonic, he was always shown like this, and usually it was always four spikes that can be seen. So to me, I'm like, hold on, there's four spikes. To me, I think astrologically all the time, all right? And to me, these four spikes and the fact that he's blue and that he's family orientated blatantly to me means he corresponds with the astrological sign of Cancer. All right, because these four spikes here are representative of the fourth house of the zodiac. The fourth house of the zodiac, yes, is where the sign of Cancer is a native. All right, and the fourth house of the zodiac, as well as the sign of Cancer, corresponds with family, nurturing, supporting the family, the home, a domestic environment. And Cancer is ruled by the moon, all right? And the moon controls the oceans, it controls the tides. Astrologically, it controls emotion as well, all right? Controls the ocean of blue, which is surrounding Sonic's home and the rest of his animals. This is why Sonic is blue, and he lives in a place that's surrounded by an ocean of blue, and he is representative of the fourth house of the zodiac because the four spikes on his back, and he's blue. There's no other reason why this would be the case. I mean, to me, it's like blatantly obvious what Sonic actually represents. All right. Now, his name is Sonic. Sonic, meaning that he moves at an extremely fast speed, all right? An extremely fast speed. And again, as he is the personification of the astrological sign of Cancer, and Cancer is ruled by the moon, by no coincidence whatsoever, the moon is the fastest moving planet in the whole of the zodiac. The fastest moving celestial body. And yes, in astrology, the moon is a planet and moves at an extremely fast speed. She moves at a speed of about 13 degrees a day, stays in one sign for about 2 days, 2.5 days. She moves very, very, very quickly. And this is the reason why Sonic moves very fast, because he is the personification of Cancer, and he's also the personification of the moon because the moon rules Cancer. All right. So he moves quickly because he's emulating the movement of the moon. Because the moon, as I said, she doth move very swiftly in the heavens at 13 degrees per day. All right. So as the moon traverses the heavens, she moves fast, and that's what Sonic does. Moves very fast, and that's why he's blue, and that's why he's got 4 spikes on his back that you can actually see. And he represents the fourth house of the zodiac and Cancer. All right. It's quite obvious. The other thing is that Sonic is most efficient when when he's moving sideways, when he's moving left and right. All right. He can jump up in the air and he can crouch down, but he's most efficient when he's moving left and right. And to me, that means Sonic is most efficient moving sideways. Again, as he's the personification of Cancer, and Cancer represents the crab. What does a crab do? It moves sideways. Sonic is most efficient when he's moving sideways, like a crab. All right. The crab, Cancer. The moon. The moon controls the tides. The tides are the oceans. The crab lives near the ocean. It moves sideways. All right. The crab, Cancer, Sonic, sideways, efficiency. It's the same. Look, it's exactly the same. Sonic represents Cancer. He moves sideways, just like a crab. He lives on an island surrounded by a beautiful ocean of blue water. Again, the moon controls the tides. Moon rules Cancer, and Sonic is very family orientated and very emotional about what's going on in terms of Dr. Robotnik coming in and invading his land and enslaving his animal brethren. All right. Sonic the Hedgehog is a Cancerian. Now, let's look at Sonic's feet. All right. As you can see, he is wearing red shoes. Now, for what reason would they make these shoes red? All right. For me, this is obvious. It's quite obvious to me. From the perspective of an ancient astrologer, it's quite obvious. Yeah. Now, when Sonic is moving, in order for him to run at an extremely fast speed, he needs to pick up speed on his feet and move in a straight line in one direction or the other, either left or right on the screen, moving sideways. All right. From our perspective, he moves sideways. All right. Now, these shoes correspond with the direction of moving at an extremely fast speed in one direction. And to me, this is representative of drive, passion, and determination. All right. And the ability to move fast as a result of anger. All right. So the color red represents to me, is synonymous and corresponds with the astrological glyph and or planet Mars. All right. So the shoes on his feet represent planet Mars, passion, drive, determination, moving in a straight line, blood pumping, acting on impulse. He's impulsive that he wants to catch Dr. Robotnik. He starts running at an extremely fast speed. All right. His feet are touching the ground. And as he traverses the ground, he picks up speed as a result. of being able to have more grip as a result of the sneakers he is actually wearing, which correspond with the Martian energy, which is Mars. All right. So these shoes on his feet are Mars. Now, the other thing which is very interesting is Sonic in this form is representative of the moon and representative of the astrological sign of Cancer. However, when Mars is in Cancer, Mars is in fall. Cancer is the fall of Mars, all right? So when Mars is in Cancer, it has very little power to act. It can still act, but has very little power to act. So as a result of this, this is the reason why when playing Sonic the Hedgehog, it's very easy to lose control. Once you pick up a certain amount of speed, it's very easy to lose control of Sonic the Hedgehog because he's moving at such a fast speed, and you lose control of him, and he could end up running into some type of mechanical beast and almost destroying himself, or destroying himself completely and losing a life as a result of running into this mechanical beast and not being able to stop himself from running into it. And the reason why is because he's losing control of the Martian energy. The reason why he loses control of the Martian energy is because Mars is in fall when it's in Cancer. And because he represents the Cancerian energy, he doesn't have as much control over the Martian energy that he would like to have, even though he can still use it to a degree. All right. Mars is in fall when it's in Cancer. Hence the reason why Sonic, it's easy to lose control of Sonic when he's running at a high speed. All right. Even like, I think it's in the second game, Sonic's able to run across the water. All right. He runs across the water. He has command of the water because he's representative of the moon. And then you have this Martian energy in the form of his red boots, red sneakers, which come in between him and the water, and he's able to run across the water, having command of the water and utilizing the Martian energy to his advantage. All right. Now, Mars is in falling Cancer, which is why he falls off the screen. When he when you when you lose control of him running and he runs into the mechanical beast and he dies, loses his rings, or if he's got no rings, he dies. He falls off of the screen. He falls because Cancer is the fall of Mars. So he falls to his death as a result of losing control of the Martian energy, which is in fall in Cancer. Sonic is Cancer, and his shoes are Mars. All right. Also, there's another part in the game where he actually has to break through a wall. He needs to run at a certain one direction for a certain amount of time, pick up speed, and use the Martian energy to break through a wall. He runs, he rolls into a ball, and he breaks through the wall. He runs through the wall head first and breaks through it. Now, the reason why he's able to do that is because he's using this Martian energy. Mars rules Aries, all right? And Aries represents the ram, all right? So what does Sonic do? He rams through the wall, all right? This is the ram. He rams through the wall, head first, using the Martian energy of Aries. As a result, able to use his feet, which have the Martian energy, which are the boots, and run through the wall. See? So to me, I'm looking at this, I'm like, this is so blatantly obvious to me. It's like blatantly obvious, all right? So that's Sonic the Hedgehog. Now, even when Sonic transforms, yeah, in the second game, in Sonic 2 and Sonic 3, when he collects all of the Chaos Emeralds, he's able to transform himself into Yellow Sonic, or as I like to call him, Super Saiyan Sonic, all right? Or Goku Sonic, Kakarot Sonic. He's able to transform into Super Sonic, all right? Now, to me, this is blatantly obvious. I mean, first of all, he needs to collect the Chaos Emeralds, and then he needs to collect 50 rings, and then he needs to jump into the air. Pay attention to the key words. He needs to jump into the air while he has 50 rings. Now, in Sonic the Hedgehog, in the first 3 games, if you collect 100 rings, then you usually get an extra life, i.e. Sonic is able to multiply himself by 1 if he collects 100 rings. However, if he collects half that amount, if he collects all of the Chaos Emeralds and then collects 50 rings instead of 100, then in essence, symbolically, he's collected half of himself, and he needs to collect another half of himself before he can multiply himself. But in this scenario, he has the 7 Chaos Emeralds and collects 50 rings, he's collected half of himself, which is like 50%, half of the scale. In order to balance out the scale, he jumps up into the air when he has 50 rings, and then he transforms into the higher vibrational state of himself and transforms into Super Sonic, Super Saiyan Sonic, Kakarot Sonic. That's what he does, yeah? So that those 50 rings representing 50% represents like the scale, a scale of some kind. And then he's like, he wants to set out to justify things, to put things right, to make things harmonious again. All right. So to me, it's quite obvious that he is a representative of the astrological sign of Libra. When he's in this form of supersonic, he's representing Libra. He jumps into the air. All right. He's representative of Libra, otherwise known as the scales. Yeah, he gets 50% on this side, the scales are tipped, and then it's like the scales have been all tipped all the way down as a result of Robotnik, who has gotten his nerves, and then he wants to tip the scales back into balance. Yeah, so he jumps up, he goes and turns into Super Saiyan Sonic, and then he goes after Robotnik. Even the fact that when he changes into Supersonic, he is more airborne. He can stay in the air for much longer. In some cutscenes, you can see him actually flying. I think there's one stage called Sky Chase Zone in Sonic 2 where he actually flies all the way through the whole stage rather than standing on the plane as he would do if he was in his normal form as Cancerian Sonic, the blue Sonic. When he transforms into Supersonic, he flies across the whole stage. Why is he airborne? Why is he yellow? It's representative of the air signs of the zodiac, representative of Libra. He has to get 50 rings, 50%, and then he has to balance out the scales, which is representative of Libra again. And also, you'll notice that he still has his red sneakers on, but he doesn't use his red sneakers as much when he's in his Libran form. Why is that? Now, let's look at this astrologically, all right? Astrologically speaking, Libra is the opposite of the sign Aries. All right. Aries is ruled by Mars, and his sneakers, Sonic sneakers, represent the Martian energy. They represent Mars. All right. Now, when Mars is in Libra, it is in detriment. Libra is the detriment of Mars, i.e., when Mars is in Libra, it has very, very little power. It has hardly any power to act. It can't do anything. Yeah. Mars and Libra cannot do anything at all because Libra is opposite to Aries and Mars rules Aries. So when Mars is in the opposite sign to the sign it rules, it's in detriment. And this is the reason why Sonic's feet are not used as much when he's in this transformed supersonic Libran form because Mars has no place in Libra. So he stays airborne for much longer and doesn't use his feet as much because his feet represent the Martian energy. And then when he transforms back into Blue Sonic, i.e. Cancerian Sonic, he falls to the ground and uses, even if he's in the air, then he falls to the ground when he transforms back into Blue Sonic, and he uses his feet even more and cannot stay airborne for as long as he could when he was supersonic. All right, because as I said, his sneakers represent Mars, and when Mars is in Cancer, it's in the sign of his fall. Hence the reason why he falls from the air, which represents Libra, and falls into the ground and starts using his feet even more when he's Blue Sonic. All right, so this is the reason why he flies and doesn't use his feet as much when he's supersonic. All right, because supersonic represents Libra. All right, rebalancing the scales, going after Dr. Robotnik. Okay, it's a bit obvious to me, man. I mean, I don't think, I mean, I don't think I can make it any more obvious. Now, let's look at Knuckles. Look at Knuckles, yeah? Now, by now, you should know exactly what Knuckles represents. It's a bit obvious. Look at this. Look at his fist. His right fist has 2 horns on it. His left fist has 2 horns on it. He's colored red. Look at his dreadlocks. Look at his dreadlocks here. And it's like, these locks can be seen as synonymous with horns of some kind. Horns that are rolled up on his head. All right? This is obvious. Look at his eyebrows. Look at the shape of his eyebrows. Look at his face. He looks like the type of person that would punch first and then ask questions later. He's always up for the fight. Gets his blood pumping and he wants to fight. All right? Now, to me, Knuckles is blatantly Aries. His eyebrows look like the shape of the Aries glyph. It's like his eyebrows look like the shape of the Aries glyph. He has two horns on each of his fists, which represent the horns of the ram of Aries. Okay, very Martian in the way he actually carries himself in the games. If you look at any of the early Sonic games, Knuckles puts his fists up and gets ready to fight. Yeah, he can even punch through walls and everything and everything. That's typical Aries, moving a straight line and punch. Ask questions later. All right. Even this little line down here, this white line, can look kind of like a Billy Goat's gruff. Yeah, a Billy Billy Goat's gruff that Knuckles actually has. What other reason would this be white down here? Yeah. Knuckles is blatantly an Aries and blatantly representative of the planet Mars. I don't need to explain it anymore. This is like quite obvious. Now, let's move over to Tails. Now, Tails, look at the color he is. He is orange, representing the air signs of the zodiac. Yeah, the element of air. All right. And look at this. Astrologically speaking, he represents air. He can even fly in the air. Now, if he was this orange, we can say, okay, then he's representative of the air signs. Don't know which air sign it is. But then if you look at his tail, his tails, he has two tails. He has twin tails. So it's blatantly obvious what air sign he actually represents. What other reason why would he have two tails? To me, he represents the sign of Gemini, otherwise known as the twins, all right? Which is why he has two tails. There's no other reason why he would have two tails other than representing the sign of Gemini, astrologically speaking. He flies through the air. Gemini is ruled by Mercury. Mercury rules communication. Communication can only take place because we have a medium through which to communicate. Usually the air. Radio waves travel through the air. The reason why you can hear my voice right now is because I'm speaking, it's coming out of my voice box, out of my mouth, and going through the medium of the air and traveling into the microphone, and you can hear it. All right. And that's all ruled by Mercury. All right. Tails can fly in the air. Very similar in the game when he flies. He looks very similar to a helicopter. His tails spin around like helicopter propellers, and he looks similar to a helicopter in the terms of how he can actually move, symbolizing the medium of the air through which communication takes place, which corresponds astrologically with Mercury, which rules Gemini, and he has two tails, so he corresponds with Gemini. All right, tails is Gemini. This is this obvious, like otherwise known as the twins. Look at the Mercury glyph right here, otherwise known as the twins. Tails is Gemini, the twins. Mercury, obvious. All right. Even the fact that Tails is seen as being, he's seen as being younger or more innocent than Knuckles and Sonic, yeah? And he's drawn much smaller than them, yeah? In terms of how high he stands, yeah? From what I remember, he's much smaller than them when you look at him on the actual game screen, all right? Because he corresponds with the planet Mercury. Mercury is what? Mercury, I think Mercury what's? It's smaller than the, is it smaller than the moon? Is the moon larger than Mercury? Mercury is one of the smallest planets in the whole of the zodiac, yeah? And can get around much easier as a result of him having two tails, all right? So, let's go. Let's move on to Dr. Robotnik, yeah? Now look at this guy. Look at him. Look at him. Now, Dr. Robotnik, look what he's wearing. Look at his black pants, yeah? He's got black pants on, yeah? And he represents imposing limitations upon Sonic and all of his animal family. Yeah? Limitations, boundaries, a new way of life, transforming their life, ending life as they know it and transforming it into something new and making them work. He wants to encapsulate animals into some type of mechanical cyborg like suit and get them to work for him. All right? He wants to get them to work for him. To me, these black pants represent the planet Saturn. What does Saturn want you to do? Saturn wants you to work. Saturn makes you change the way you see life, and always heralds the end of life as you know it, and imposing new laws and new boundaries and new limitations upon you. Yeah, these black pants represent Saturn itself, representing death, representing the end of life, or the end of life as you know it. All right. So to me, Dr. Robotnik is the planet Saturn. That's what he's come to do. Bring an end and enslave all of Sonic's animal friends, well, his animal family, all right? Even if you look at the shape of Dr. Robotnik's head, look at his head, then look at the moustache. It looks like Saturn with the rings. His moustache is the rings of Saturn, then his head is actually Saturn. It's quite obvious. Look at the planet Saturn. There we go. Dr. Robotnik's head, and then you have the rings of Saturn, which is Dr. Robotnik's moustache, all right? He's the planet Saturn. He comes to impose new laws, enslavement, and work boundaries, all right? Limitation, yeah? That is the planet Saturn. All right. He even he wants to enslave the animals, and he wants to eat their energy as well. All right. And he wants to impose time limits as well. Saturn is otherwise known as Father Time or Cronus. Yes. Father Time, Cronus in the myth. Having control over time. All right. Now, if you look at the first game when Sonic goes against Dr. Robotnik, in the very first boss, the very first time you fight Dr. Robotnik, he's in a ship. Look at this ship, yeah? And then you've got, he swings a boulder from left to right, very pendulum like in its motion, all right? Like he's counting time. He's Saturn. He's Father Time, and he's counting time as the time goes down. Also, when you're playing Sonic the Hedgehog, you have to complete the stage in within 10 minutes, if I remember rightly. If my memory serves me correctly, you have to complete each stage within 10 minutes. And if you don't complete it in 10 minutes, then it's time over and Sonic drops off the screen and dies as a result. And the only reason he dies as a result, he meets his death. Death is ruled by Saturn. He meets his death as a result of time running out. Time is ruled by Saturn. Dr. Robotnik is the reason why the time has run out. Because the only reason that time has been imposed is because Dr. Robotnik has enlisted a time limit upon Sonic to actually defend himself as well as his animal family against Dr. Robotnik. And if the time runs out, Dr. Robotnik wins. Therefore, Dr. Robotnik has complete power over time. He is Saturn, he is Cronus, he is Father Time. Okay? And if the time runs out, Sonic dies. He meets his death. Death again is ruled by Saturn. Again. So Dr. Robotnik is blatantly Father Time and he is Saturn. Yeah? That's what he's done. Now let's go back to this image here. Here we go. Even Dr. Robotnik's top. This top here is red, synonymous with the planet Mars. Alright? Synonymous with the planet Mars. Now, Mars represents Dr. Robotnik's drive and determination to actually have all the Chaos Emeralds to himself so he can utilize the energy that's actually there. Alright? Also represents all of the suffering and the blood and the war that takes place. Mars rules war, and Dr. Robotnik has blatantly declared war against Sonic and his animal family as a result of it, which is why he's wearing this red, representing the blood, representing the anguish, representing his drive and determination, as well as representing the war that has actually started as well. And the color red being synonymous with the planet Mars, yes, Mars rules over the sign of Scorpio. Traditionally speaking, in ancient astrology, Mars rules Scorpio, all right? So, Dr. Robotnik is very, very cunning in the way he actually approaches. He creeps up behind the animals, kidnaps them, and then enslaves them. That's what he actually does. So, he is the feminine manifestation or the feminine expression of the Martian energy, which is rather than being in your face and attacking you, he actually does it in a very quiet and very quiet manner and creeps up very cunningly to catch his prey. Now, astrologically speaking, Mars is the lesser malefic and Saturn is the greater malefic. As I said, These black pants represent Saturn, which is the greater malefic, and this red top of Dr. Robotnik's represents Mars, which is the lesser malefic. And he's wearing the colors of both of the malefic planets. Okay? And this guy, Dr. Robotnik, is the malefic general. He has arrived to be as malefic as possible. He's come to start war, aka Mars, and be a personification of the Martian energy, as well as create boundaries and limitations and rules, as well as making the animals work for him and bring a transformation to life as they know it, which could end in their death, which is ruled by Saturn. All right, he's the malefic general and is representing Mars and Saturn. This could be easily a representative of what? Mars in Scorpio, or even Saturn in Scorpio in the 12th house. I bet if you look at Dr. Robotnik's natal chart, he's got Saturn in Scorpio in the 12th house. So look at this. Comes out from hidden places. The 12th house rules hidden places. It comes out from hidden places and invades and enslaves the animals. Yeah. Even if you look at this part of his top, this yellow part here, this yellow part represents the air signs of the zodiac. Yeah. And his ability to think very quickly. And as you can see, there's 2 points here. There's 1 point here and 1 point down here. So to me, again, represents twins, represents Gemini again. And Gemini is ruled by Mercury. He has the ability, Dr. Robotnik, to think very, very quickly and on his feet. He's ingenious in terms of all of the mechanical devices he creates to actually enslave the animals. All right. This is Dr. Robotnik. It looks like he has mastery over magnetism and electronics and everything. All of that is ruled by Mercury. All right. The electricity ruled by Mercury. That's why he has this. He has this yellow hair representing Gemini and representing Mercury. Then he has this red top representing Mars. And then he's got the black buttons representing Saturn. Then his face and his moustache looks like the planet Saturn anyway. Looks like the planet Saturn. And he's there to enslave all of the animals. And again, he wants to eat their energy, enslave them, and use their energy for his own means so he can get all of the Chaos Emeralds for himself. All right? To get them for himself. He wants to eat their energy. He wants to make the animals his slaves and make them his children so he can use their energy and eat their energy. Saturn is known as Father Time and known as Cronus. And in the myth, Saturn or Cronus eats his children. Now look at this picture here. This is Saturn or Cronus, yeah? Father Time. And look at the colors used in Dr. Robotnik's clothes. His Dr. Robotnik's clothes, yellow, red, and black. Now look at this image here. Yellow, red, and black. Do you think that's a coincidence? Do you think that's a coincidence? I mean, look at this. The scythe of Saturn, yeah, can easily represent the metallic and mechanical nature of Dr. Robotnik's deadly schemes. And then you have the red, which is the Mars, which I went over. The Martian energy, the blood, the drive, the determination, the passion, and the war that he's waging. All right. And then you have, look at the color of his skin. Yellow, representative of that Gemini energy again, ability to think very quickly and get things done fast, travel through the air and get to where he needs to get to. And it's like, look at down here, you got the color black representing Saturn himself. Even the scythe, I mean the scythe itself looks like the color black as well, representing the planet Saturn. He eats his children. Look what he's doing here. He's getting ready to eat his children. This cherubim, I think it is, can be representative of the animals that are being enslaved and having their energy eaten by the evil Dr. Robotnik. All right, the greater malefic. All right. So to me, it's very, very obvious that the whole of the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise, well, the early games, you could even see it on here. Look, this is Sonic the Hedgehog. He's blue, representing Cancer and the Moon. Then you have Tails over here, representing Gemini and Mercury. All right, he has twin tails. And then you have Knuckles. His eyebrows in this picture looks like the glyph of Aries. Yeah. And then he's red, representing Mars and Aries. And then you have Dr. Robotnik. And look at this. You can't see his pants in the picture, but they made sure they put the color black there so you can know that it's representing the planet Saturn. Yeah. Look at it. Then he's got the red hair representing like this red at the bottom represents Mars. Then he got this yellow part here representing Gemini and Mercury. This is Dr. Robotnik. Then he got his moustache, which represents the rings of Saturn. All right, all of this, all of it, man. This whole thing, Sonic the Hedgehog, is completely, to me, based upon astrology and astrological symbolism. Is completely embedded within it, right in front of your face, in plain sight. And once you become astrologically astute, you are able to see astrology everywhere. It's literally everywhere you walk in society. All right. So there you go. The ThaBadbrey Herbalist Asar, ancient astrologer of the ThaBadbreyHerbal.co.uk. And as I said, if you want to read the article that I wrote a few years ago, then the link is in the description. Yeah, go to the ThaBadbreyHerbal.co.uk and you'll find the astrology of Sonic the Hedgehog. You can read more about it. All right. The ThaBadbrey Herbalist Asar of the ThaBadbreyHerbal.co.uk. I'm never going to stop spreading this ancient astrological knowledge. I will be back. Stay tuned.